Another piece with a fascinating story is this wonderful long case clock. Now this is known as the Fearnley masterpiece. Just imagine that you were living in Wigan, up in Lancashire, at the end of the 18th century. The Liverpool to Leeds Canal had just been built going through Wigan and had brought huge wealth with it. There were 3 clockmakers working in Wigan at the end of the 18th century, competing quite fiercely with one another. And each one of those 3 clockmakers made what they considered to be their masterpiece clock. Masterpiece? Why? Well, they made a clock which exhibited the very finest of all the techniques that they could muster. And it was the clock which they then used to sell other clocks to their clients. Now just imagine, within 5 miles of Wigan by the early 19th century, there were 1,000 coal pits. And each and every one of those pit owners became incredibly wealthy. So there was a lot of money about, and there were people up there spending money on buying really, really fine timepieces, clocks, as well as furniture. And this one, with its skeletonized dial center, saying Tempus Fugit, the man is yet unborn who duly weighs an hour. What a wonderful piece of masterful clockmaking that is, and dial cutting. At the top you have time is valuable. In the arch you have the lunar calendar so that you can see the phases of the moon, which of course would have been very important for any merchant to know when his ships could be coming or going, because of course the tides were ruled by the moon. Here you have, driven by the central arbor, the hour hand, the minute hand, the sweep second hand, which you can just see there, and also the normal calendar hand there. And today being the 14th, you can see it says the 14th, and it's now 5 minutes to 1. But it's not just the dial, it's not just the movement, and the clock strikes the hours on one bell. Just look at this wonderful case. This case that was shouting and screaming, we've seen Thomas Chippendale's book. We know all about the director. All the different symbols taken from Chippendale's director rolled into one clock, with all this blind fretwork that you see here, on the hood as well, these wonderful columns here and again, flanking the central door, the OG shape to the top of the door, the fabulous, fabulous mahogany, that deep Cuban mahogany that you see on this case. This was Peter Fearnley's masterpiece. This was the clock that he had in his house, and he was one of these 3 clockmakers vying for business. This was the clock where after dinner he'd show their dinner guests what he could produce, and hopefully get a commission from them to make a similar clock for his clients. This has only changed hands twice before coming my way. It's illustrated in all the books on English clocks, and it's known as the Fearnley masterpiece, and my word, it most certainly is a masterpiece. Signed, as you can see at the top, Peter Fearnley of Wigan, and just in beautiful condition, keeps excellent time as well. What more could you want? And yours, all for the sum of £60,000. Sold!